Nature plays a cruel trick on the unwary. Some of the most poisonous plants on Earth have disguised themselves, over millions of years, to look almost exactly like the safe, wholesome foods we love to gather and eat. A deadly root that looks like a wild onion. A poisonous berry that could pass for a blueberry. A toxic leaf mistaken for a healing herb. And as more and more people return to foraging and growing their own food, these dangerous lookalikes are catching people out once again, just as they caught out the unlucky throughout history. Our ancestors learned to tell friend from foe through hard and sometimes tragic experience. Today, I am going to share that life-saving knowledge with you, walking you through 8 deadly plants that look like food. Now let me be absolutely clear about why this matters, the way a good friend would. My goal is to protect you, not to scare you away from the genuine joys of foraging and gardening. But this subject demands the strictest respect, because with these plants there is no room for a good guess. The single most important rule of wild food is this, that you never eat any wild plant unless you are 100% certain of what it is, confirmed by a true expert. Almost sure is not sure. So listen closely, because the knowledge I am about to share has saved lives for generations, and it could one day save yours or that of someone you love. Each of these plants earned its place on this list the hard way, through real people who trusted the wrong lookalike. We begin with poison hemlock, one of the deadliest plants in the world and a master of disguise, because with its lacy white flowers and feathery fern-like leaves, it looks remarkably like harmless wild carrot, wild parsley, and other edible plants that foragers gather. But every part of poison hemlock is intensely toxic, and eating even a small amount can be fatal. This is the very plant said to have killed the philosopher Socrates in ancient times. It often has purple blotches on its smooth stems and an unpleasant musty smell, but these clues are far too risky to rely on. When it comes to anything resembling wild carrot or parsley, absolute expert certainty is the only safe path. It has spread widely along roadsides and field edges in recent years, so foragers cross paths with it far more often than they once did. The second deadly lookalike is death camas, whose very name tells you all you need to know, and which grows from a bulb that looks dangerously similar to a wild onion. Foragers who gather wild onions and garlic have been seriously harmed after digging up death camas by mistake, because the bulbs can be nearly indistinguishable to the untrained eye. But here is one crucial clue, that a true wild onion smells strongly of onion when crushed, while death camas does not. So if it looks like an onion but has no onion smell, you must never eat it. Even so, with a plant this dangerous, smell alone is not enough, and only true expert certainty will do. This is one of the oldest and most tragic mistakes in the whole history of foraging, and it happens precisely because gathering wild onions feels so safe and familiar. Third, we have lily of the valley, that sweet, delicate garden flower with its dainty white bells, which hides a deadly danger for the spring forager. The trouble comes before it blooms, when its young green leaves can be easily confused with those of wild garlic, also called ramps, a popular and delicious foraged green. But while wild garlic is a treat, every part of lily of the valley is toxic, affecting the heart, and people have been poisoned after gathering the wrong one. Again, the crushed leaf of true wild garlic smells strongly of garlic, while lily of the valley does not. But any trace of doubt means you simply do not eat it. This particular mix-up has grown more common as foraging for wild ramps has become fashionable, a sobering reminder that even a trendy, beloved wild food can hide a deadly twin. The fourth is moonseed, a climbing vine whose dark purple fruits look almost exactly like wild grapes, and which often grows tangled right alongside the real thing on fences and in thickets. Foragers reaching for wild grapes have been harmed after eating moonseed by mistake, because the resemblance is so convincing. The telltale difference lies hidden in the seed, for a true grape holds several round seeds, while moonseed contains a single flat, crescent-shaped seed, but splitting open every fruit to check is a risky business at best. The safe lesson is simply this, that wild grape-like fruit should never be eaten without absolute expert certainty. The two plants so love to grow side by side that a single handful gathered in haste could contain both the safe and the deadly at once. Number 5 is foxglove, that tall and beautiful garden flower whose danger lies in its leaves, which before the plant blooms can look strikingly similar to those of comfrey and other plants that people gather to brew into teas. This mistake has caused genuine harm because foxglove contains powerful compounds that act directly on the heart and can be dangerous even in small amounts. It is a crucial warning for anyone who gathers leaves for tea or remedies that some of the deadliest plants hide most easily in their leafy young stage, before their telltale flowers ever appear. Know your plants in every season, and never brew a leaf you cannot identify with certainty. The comfrey mix-up in particular has caught out well-meaning herb gatherers, which is why experienced foragers learn to identify a plant long before it flowers. The 6th deadly lookalike is the berry of the deadly nightshade, also known as belladonna, whose shiny, dark, cherry-like berries look sweet and appealing and could tempt someone into thinking they are a harmless wild fruit. But these berries are extremely poisonous, and it takes only a few to seriously harm a person, especially a child. Throughout history, this plant has been notorious and feared. This is a powerful reminder that a berry looking sweet and ripe is never proof that it is safe, and that some of the most dangerous fruits in nature wear the most inviting disguise. Never eat any wild berry without complete, expert certainty of what it is. Children are especially at risk here, since a shiny dark berry is one of the most naturally tempting things in the world to a small hand. Number 7 is the horse nettle, a weedy relative of the tomato and potato that produces small, round yellow fruits, looking rather like tiny cherry tomatoes or small yellow berries. Because it belongs to the same family as our garden vegetables, and its fruit looks so familiar and edible, it can dangerously tempt a curious child or an unwary forager. But the horse nettle is toxic, and its tomato-like fruits should never be eaten. It grows commonly in fields, gardens, and disturbed ground, often right where food crops grow. Learn to recognize its spiny stems and leaves, and its little tomato-like fruits, and keep both yourself and your children well clear of tasting them. Because it grows right where our food crops grow, it is an easy plant to overlook, blending in among the very vegetables it so dangerously imitates. And finally, the 8th, pokeweed, a plant with a genuinely complicated history, because while its young shoots have been traditionally eaten in some regions after being boiled repeatedly in several changes of fresh water, the plant is dangerous, and the process leaves no room for error. In spring, those young shoots can look tempting to a forager, resembling harmless edible greens or even asparagus, but the mature plant, the root, and especially the dark purple berries are seriously poisonous. Countless people have been harmed by preparing it wrongly or eating the wrong part. Unless you have been taught the exact traditional method by a true expert, pokeweed is a plant best left entirely alone. Now let me speak gently to those of you who love to forage or who care for someone who does, and to every parent and grandparent of a curious child. The wild world offers real and beautiful gifts, and gathering your own food is a deep and ancient joy. But the plants on this list show us why that joy demands the greatest respect. The answer is never fear, but knowledge, held carefully and shared with love. Learn from true experts, from experienced foragers and trusted guides, never from a single video or app alone. And teach the children you love the simplest, most important rule of all, that we never eat anything from the wild unless a trusted grown-up who truly knows has said that it is safe. That shared wisdom, passed down with care, is one of the most protective gifts you can ever give. But honesty and care require that I say this very plainly. If you ever suspect that someone has eaten any part of a poisonous plant, do not wait to see what happens. Contact your local poison control center or emergency services immediately, and if you can, bring a sample of the plant so it can be identified. Do not rely on home remedies for a serious poisoning. And please remember, above all else, that no video, no book, and no phone app is ever a substitute for hands-on learning from an experienced expert. The deadly plants on this list and the safe foods they imitate can be genuinely difficult to tell apart, and the cost of a single mistake is simply far too high. Certainty, every single time, is the only acceptable standard. So the next time you head out to gather wild food, or you reach for an unfamiliar berry, leaf, or root, carry this knowledge with you like a trusted companion. These deadly lookalikes have fooled and harmed even experienced gatherers throughout history, not because those people were careless, but because nature hides its dangers with such astonishing skill. The hard-won wisdom to tell the safe from the deadly was passed down through generations to keep families alive, and it is a treasure worth learning and sharing. Respect these plants, never gamble with certainty, learn from those who truly know, and stay with me, because understanding nature's dangerous disguises is exactly what allows us to enjoy its true and generous bounty safely and well.